So I go back to treatment, and this treatment center, I'm like thinking the cops are going to be there any moment to arrest me. A nervous wreck. So, but thank God, they had grace on me. My mom gave him back all the stuff, and they were like, he's back in treatment, and it's Christmas, so we're going to have grace on him. And so, yeah, that was probably one of the most shameful events of my life. So yeah, I go back to California after I graduate. So now I'm Morningside turned into 12 South, right? The apartments. 12 South bought the apartments from Morningside. So now I'm at 12 South. And I'm there for a few weeks. I meet this girl, right? And one day, after about a few weeks in, I borrow some vape juice and from this one girl. And when I'm going to go back to give the vape juice to that one girl, the other girl calls me. And then, yeah, and they caught us. So I got kicked out. She stayed, of course, because I'm the guy. It's just how it is. And I go to another place. Now I'm in another treatment center, right? So then after that 30-day treatment center, then I go to another place, Turning Point. And Turning Point's going to come in later on. And then I go back to 12 South. Okay, now this is where it starts to get interesting. So stay tuned. I'm a dork. So yeah, I get to 12 South. Well, this guy there, he's there. His name is Adam. And Adam is a Luciferian warlock. Now, Adam is a Luciferian warlock. And he said that he came there because 12 South was getting too good. He said this to me, but he also said this to another person. So, like I said, I had always been a quote-unquote Christian. So, I was going to church and everything at 12 South, but it just, I did the whole thing in treatment where I went to church and I broke down crying and repented and helped me get sober, and then I relapsed like 4 months later. But, I was going to church and I believed in God, but he said that it was getting too good and that there were too many Christian influences there. So he said he came there because it was getting too good. So anyways, this letter from my friend Tiffany that I'm going to show you after I explain something to you real quick. She was sitting across from him one day. She was in class, and Adam was across from her. And she said that she was getting this, like, eerie feeling from him, like that he was staring at her or something. And I didn't know this until, like, a year and a half or 2 years later, until she told me. After I told her what I had done with him, she told me this 2 years after this all happened. So she looked up at him, and she said that when he looked at her, he had the most sinister stare on his face. And she said that she saw big black wings sprout out of his back and swoop back down, and he was like energetically just evil, right? So at the end of class, she walked up to him and pretty much told him, "I know who you are, stay away from me." So here's the letter, just because I know people aren't going to believe me. I'm not good at writing from another person's point of view. I have no reason to make this up at all. I'm not looking for attention. I'm telling this testimony because God is telling me to tell it. He gave me this testimony. So I don't care what you think. I care what God thinks. You don't have to believe this, but it's true. So here, check out the letter. So, so she leaves. And now I'm bunked with this guy. So I got bunked with him in the same apartment. And this dude would do black magic every single night. I don't know what kind of rituals he was doing specifically, but he was doing black magic every single night. And like, I'd go to bed and I'd come downstairs to get a glass of water, and I'm telling you, like, I knew immediately the house was full of demons. And there was something different about him. Every time he did it, his eyes would change and he would look just evil. He would look evil. There's like this blank evil stare on his face. So one night, you know, I'm spiritually deprived, and this is what happens with a lot of addicts is, you know, we've been trying to fill that spiritual hole that only God can fill with drugs for so long that we never actually focused on healing that part of ourselves. So when you get off of drugs and you've been on them for a long time, you're spiritually deprived, and you're looking everywhere for some spiritual awakening so that you can change your life. And so, you know, eventually he sucks me in to doing rituals with him. And this one ritual specifically was for creativity and pretty much the beginning steps of fame and fortune. And it was an incantation, and there's an evocation and an incantation. Now, evocation, I believe that it is the exact word, is when you evoke something, but you don't actually let it in you. You just kind of, I think you can make a deal with them or learn some knowledge from them. Invocation is when you actually let the thing inside of you, come inside of you for power or for you know, whatever it is that you're asking it to help you with. Mine was creativity because I was a musician. Ever since I found Jesus, I don't listen to secular music anymore. Like, I don't have a desire to listen to it at all. So I kind of stopped playing guitar, but I used to be really good, and I wrote my own songs, and I know that if I kept going that I would be famous. I know it. Which is a big part of the reason why I did the ritual. So I invoked this entity, and now the way it works is you have a sigil, and pretty much you have to do different things with the sigils. Sometimes you have to offer the entity something. Over the sigil, you have to burn something, or, you know, in my case, I had to eventually burn the sigil, but there were a couple of things that I needed though for the sigil. I can't remember exactly. It was years ago, but I did it. I did the ritual, and I knew it was in the room, the entity. You know, and I may say the name of it one day on my YouTube, like, if people really want to know. I just don't care to say its name. Like, it doesn't whatever, you know. So I knew it was in the room, and then, after intuitively I knew it was in the room, he said, "He is here." Adam said it. And so I knew at that point for sure that entity was there. And so Adam was telling me, you have to invite him in now. You have to let him in. So, because he needs, like, an agreement, like a legal right, pretty much, I think. It was kind of like how it works. But so I let him in. I said, okay, yeah, sure. You know, come in. Possess me, demon. Yeah. So I knew that it worked because that night I went to bed, and he told me, he said, go to bed and then tomorrow whatever. So I go to bed. I couldn't sleep because the best way I can describe it is it felt like there was a fiery liquid coursing through my veins all night, and I couldn't sleep. But it lasted for well over a month, that feeling. So I go to class with him the next day, and this dude, like, the kind of guy he wears all black, but he's not like cringy black, like phony black, if that makes sense. He's not a phony goth guy. He's literally a dark person, and the black on him just matched his energy, and he carried around a voodoo doll with him everywhere he went, and he said the voodoo doll is possessed by a demon. And I don't know exactly for sure what he does with the demon, but yeah, he said the voodoo doll was possessed by a demon. So, the next day we're in class, and I still feel it, and I'm telling him, like, dude, like, I know that it worked, and he's just happy as can be, dude. He is smiling, and just, I haven't seen him that I haven't, since, I met him there, I haven't seen him that happy. I think he's kind of like, because he's like, I got him type deal. So he then proceeded to draw the Luciferian symbol on my hand. And when he did that, there was something, it was just, it felt natural, right? At that time, I think it was the entity's connection with it. So, for almost 2 months, whenever I felt like it, I'd draw the Luciferian symbol on my hand. I might have a picture, I gotta look for it, but it popped up on my Facebook not too long ago. But, so, yeah, and so he leaves, and now, I'm telling you, I could not put my guitar down. Every waking moment I had to play my guitar, I could not put it down. It was like I was being forced to pick it up, but like wanting to pick it up at the same time. And so I was just writing like crazy and singing my little heart out. But so Adam leaves, and about 2 months later, I'm working at an ice cream shop, and Adam calls me. Well, like I said, that was like the beginning of me. That was like the beginning of the ritual. So there were like other deals, I guess, that I kind of had to make with the entity or whatever, something else I had to come into agreement with. And he called me and he told me that he wants me to meet him at Santa Cruz, or in Santa Cruz, because there is a ritual that I need to do, that they are meeting up that night, and there is a ritual that I need to do if I really want what I was asking for. And I thought about it, he told me that if I do not do the second part of the ritual, that it will turn on me, and every time I am about to succeed, I will fail, and the following events will prove that statement. So I decided no. I changed my mind. I was like, I'm not going to go through with this. This is no. So I go home that night. It was like 2 nights later, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go to this other treatment center for like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I was like, sure. So when I got there, there was this girl there, couple seats in front of me. And I heard this voice again in my head that just said, that's her. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know who she is. Like, that's her, So I walk up to her at the end of the meeting, and I introduce myself, and I'm like, I think she's beautiful. And I'm like, I tell her, like, you should come to 12 South, when you get out of here. And she had absolutely no intention of doing that whatsoever. She did not want to do that. But her therapist talked her into it. She gets to 12 South, actually. And we start dating. And, it's just a really weird connection. We would hang out in the fields there, and there was always a dark entity with us that was always there. And she will tell you to this day that this is the case. So there was like a dark spirit that hung around us, which I think that our relationship initially was to destroy me, because I was about to start welding school. It was like I met her, and then it was like 2 weeks later I was supposed to start welding school, but then all these events happened. The night before I was supposed to start welding school, her and her friend decided to smoke weed when I was with them, and because I was with them, we all got kicked out. I didn't smoke the weed, but whatever. I mean, I shouldn't have been there, right? Like, doesn't make sense to be there. A smart person wouldn't have been there. So I got kicked out. Well, I don't have anywhere to go, so I got to drive all the way back to Georgia with my dog, and she's got to go back home, so we say bye, and I go all the way back to Georgia from California. I get there. I don't have anywhere else to stay besides that guy's house, Logan, the neighbor of my grandma's. My family doesn't want me to stay with them. So I move in with him. Not only is he using, but he is dealing. So his house got raided. And thank God there was nothing in the house at that time. But because of that, I had to find another place to live. I got arrested that night because as I was driving away from the house, they pulled me over because they were raiding the house, but they also pulled me over because I lived there. And I had a suspended license. I didn't have anything, but I got arrested and I got out, and then I stayed with my grandma. Now, while I'm at my grandma's house, my aunt is there with her little dog. I've got my dog. My dog decides to attack my aunt's dog, and my aunt's dog has to go to the vet and get stitches. So I'm out of there now, right? Then I go to this guy's house that I saw on Craigslist. He had a room for rent. I go there in this little split foyer home in Winder, Georgia, out in the country, and I'm living there for a little bit, and then he gets another person moves in, and then a girl moves in. So it's this guy and this girl, they both move in. They didn't know each other, but it was separate, And the guy was gay, so he wanted to be with me, and because I'm straight and I didn't want to be with him, he liked my songs, so he would literally ask me to sing for him. Like, I didn't think of it in like a gay way like that. I just thought he liked my songs, but I think he thought of it
cool, Chris.
I like this guy a lot, but so I didn't like him because I'm not gay. So him and that girl lied to my landlord, the guy's room I was renting, told him that I stole money out of his sock drawer, which was an absolute lie. So he comes knocking on my door at like 9 a.m. and is kicking me out, telling me to get out of his house. And I'm like, what's going on? He told me I stole the money, and I'm like telling him, like, dude, I didn't take anything. And so, which I didn't. So he kicks me out. Now I've got to go to my friend Jake's house. I find another place to go. Jake, I used to use with him, but he's still using. There's other people that live there. They're all using intravenously. So I start using again intravenously. And again, I'm miserable. So I'm trying to find every way to get out of there. The house is getting shot up. The bullets are right over my head. I'm trying to get off the addiction, and so I'm like trying to figure it all out. So I call JD again, and I tell him what's going on, and we made a decision. He's like, yeah, well, I'm fine, I'm clean, so you can come here and stay with me, and then you can go to the methadone clinic and find a job, save up money, and do whatever you need to do. So I'm like, cool. So I leave my dog with my friend Trey. I go to Los Angeles, and while I'm there, is about a week later, I find out that he lied to me and that he was actually using fentanyl. Oh, I shouldn't say the name, but whatever, man. I can't. It just I tell the story and then it just like comes out of my mouth. So I'm sorry. So anyways, you need to know these drugs regardless, so that you know to stay away from them, because the story that I'm telling you, it will lead here to this story. So yeah, in fact, I want you to know the name of the drug, because I want you to, when that drug is mentioned, to say, no, I don't want to end up like that dude. So I move in, and because I was using the drug differently than he was, he kicked me out. And so now I'm on Skid Row, and there was this guy, when I was going to the methadone clinic, there was this guy that took me because I was going to get something. I asked this other dude, hey, do you know where to get something? And he's like, yeah, follow me. So he took me to this dude's tent, and massive tent, TV, couch, everything. Now, Los Angeles, man, they passed a law where pretty much homeless people can set up a tent anywhere they want, unless it's like residential property. If it's the front of the neighborhood, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You could set up a tent anywhere you want. So, I mean, I'm telling you, dude, Los Angeles is just horrible now. It's horrible. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Spawn, but I'll get to that. So I'm like, okay, so that's the first place I go. I'm like, man, I don't have anywhere else to go. So I end up staying with that dude for a few weeks and just wandering Los Angeles and just, using. And I was initially going to just immediately call my friend to come pick me up, but that didn't work because another homeless person stole my cell phone. So now I'm walking around with no cell phone. Other people won't let you use their cell phone because people steal them all the time. They'll ask to use it and then run off. So I can never use anybody's cell phone. And no gas station would let me use their cell phone. So I had to literally seek out how am I going to do this? I finally find someone that let me use it, but I couldn't get in touch with anybody. So I'm wandering around. I meet this couple. And it's this artist couple. They moved from Virginia to Los Angeles because this guy was a very successful artist. And this is what I mean by addicts aren't always just stupid. This guy was a very successful artist, a millionaire living in Los Angeles, him and his girlfriend. But he started hanging out with people that were using. And they started using and lost everything. Their beautiful, $2 million home, their vehicles, and now they're sleeping in a small tent on a sidewalk in Los Angeles. So she goes to this one place and we get some, right? Well, a few days later, I go to this other, so I'm seeking out trying to find something, and I talk to this dude. I'm like, dude, do you know where I can go? And he's like, yeah, go up to this guy. His name is Ace or something like that. Go to this tent. And I'm like, okay, cool, because he told me it's fine. So I go up there and I'm outside of the tent, there's a tarp, right? And then there's a tent inside of the tarp, and I'm kind of peeking in, hey, Ace, and he's like, who is that? And I'm it's Chris. This guy told me to come, that I could come here and see, whatever. And so he's told me to come in, and he literally thinks that I'm a cop. So I'm wearing a red hat that says Med Man on it because it was a smoke shop or whatever in Los Angeles. I've got tracks all over my arms, and I'm bro, how could I be a cop? Do you see my arms? But he still legitimately thought I was a cop. And the Mexican gangs there are really bad. There's this Mexican dude standing to the side of me, and he's asking Ace, he's like, do you want me to take care of this? And he's like, no, hold on. And I'm trying to tell him, dude, I promise you I'm not a cop. Finally I convinced him, but the dude asked again, do you want me to take care of this? And I legitimately think this dude was talking about killing me, bro. These people don't play around. I was chased by these people. Legitly, they don't play around. They will stab you right there on the sidewalk and not care one bit. So thankfully I got it and I was fine. But a few days later, I'm this is probably 3.5 weeks in, and I'm dude, I gotta figure something out. I'm not in a good place. I just got chased by these Mexican guys that are in a gang. And I'm I gotta get out of here. So the guy who stole my phone, I ended up actually stealing his bike. I was in survival mode, man. And so I stole his bike, I get all my stuff, and I just flee from that area of Los Angeles. Well, I end up selling the bike. And the way the subway stations work in Los Angeles is there's the heart of Los Angeles where the subways are, and it branches out routes to every part of LA. So you could go from one part of LA to the other in 10 minutes. So I'm downtown Los Angeles, and I decide I want to go to West Hollywood to that tent that the couple took me to get some stuff. So I head up to West Hollywood, and I ask this dude, go up to his tent, and he told me to leave because he didn't know me. But there was this guy standing there that I've never seen in my life, and I've only been to West Hollywood one other time besides this. And he told me, he told the guy, he said, dude, I know this guy. He's cool, man. I see him up here all the time. And I'm thinking what are you talking about? I'm not even, I've been up here one time. So the guy ends up selling me some stuff. And so the guy asked me, the guy who told me, like, oh, he's cool, or told him he's cool, asked me if I wanted a safe place to go, to hit. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? So I go with him to his nephew's tent. Cool little tent, got a TV in it, couch, and guy sitting there on the couch watching some comedian. I can't remember which comedian what comedian he was watching, but he had a little puppy in his lap. He had dreads, probably about my size, white guy, like normal dude, right? Like I'm like, okay, so I use, and next thing I know, I'm waking up to this guy over top of me and telling me that you're saying you're very lucky because I wasn't about to bring this today, Narcan. So I overdosed. Well, so I get out of the tent and I was going to go get this guy something. And the moment I walk out of the tent, I didn't realize it before, but I am standing right in front of this beautiful Catholic cathedral. And I just remember looking at the church and just being like, like, thank you, Jesus. And so I walk away, and actually the people who let me use their phone, like a week before, I run into them. And so they let me use their phone. I get in touch with the guy that was going to help me get into treatment. He came from Orange County to Los Angeles, picked me up, took me to this place called Charlie Street in Orange County, California. Charlie Street is just like a low-bottom indigent recovery center. Like, you don't pay anything. It's free. They don't give you anything to withdraw with. Like, you cold turkey. They give you a bed. They say if you really want it, you're going to get clean. If not, get out of here. So they were actually betting against me because I'm telling you, like, I was horrible. And so I got through it. Again, third time, cold turkey detoxing. So listen, if you think that you can't cold turkey detox, I'm telling you, you can. And it's horrible, but it'll make you stronger by the end of that, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, I get done with that. I get a sponsor, and I get into a halfway house again, but a free halfway house this time. Or, well, you have to pay a little bit. Got a job, saved up some money, got a car, but then because I had the money, I relapsed. And so I get kicked out of my treatment center, or my halfway house. And I decide I'm going to go get McKenna. So I call McKenna, and I drive up to Madera, California. That's where she lives. And I decided to cold turkey detox again. So now I'm in Madera, and I'm like, I left that all behind in Orange County. I took my car. I'm like, I'm going to go get McKenna. I want to be with her. And I stopped using. So now I'm in Madera, California, 115 degree heat, just going around town, different hotels, going to the mall with McKenna, sweating profusively. And again, I want her to do her testimony so she can back everything that I'm saying. But so I'm like, I got to go get my dog after a week. And at first she wasn't going to go with me, but the day that I was leaving back to Georgia, she decided to go with me. So we get in the car, drive all the way across America. We get to Georgia, and we stop some places like Albuquerque and things like that. Cool little places. Albuquerque, man, I'm going to tell you, that place is demonically infested. Tell you right now, that place is 100% demonically, what is the word that I just used? The heck, infested. Lot of witchcraft there. But, so, and that's going to come in later in the story. But, so we get to Georgia, and my best friend in the North Georgia mountains, we ended up being able to stay with his stepdad temporarily. We saved up some money. We both got jobs at this place called the Dillard House in Dillard, Georgia. And we're working there, but Heaven's death, her day that she passed, comes up. I didn't realize it. I didn't know. All I know is that day I woke up, I was not right. at all. And so we go to work, and my boss, actually at the time, she gave me some drugs. And these drugs were to wake me up. Well, I went into a full-blown relapse. And I thankfully got through it enough to where we did get money saved up still, and we got a house. A beautiful house, actually. It was like a triangle shaped, German styled ski loft type house, on the triangle border. It had the cool little designs, and the balcony at the second floor, and our room was the entire second floor. Super cool up in the mountains. And we let a friend move in. I let a friend move in with us. It's like the guy who was actually watching my dog. And so we're living there now, and I have gone into a relapse on and off. So I would relapse because I was trying so hard to get away from it. I was so tired of it, but I just kept relapsing. And so I'd relapse for 2 days, and then I'd stop. And then 4 days later, I'd relapse again, then I'd stop. Well, one day I was going to relapse, and I was driving to another place in Georgia to get something, and I got pulled over. I was driving on a suspended license, second time getting arrested for that. I go to jail. While I'm in jail, my roommate actually decides to give my girlfriend, McKenna, drugs, hard drugs, and the kind of drugs that she would like, because she was a college student for engineering, and she was on those Ritalin type medicines. So she went into full addiction. And I get out of jail. We kind of I get this, so I actually lost my job at this HVAC company that I was working at. And that was because on New Year's, I got blackout drunk, and I got into a fight with McKenna, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is where it leads you. We got a little too aggressive. And so she actually ended up telling a friend, and then that friend worked at the HVAC company. And so I didn't get fired, but I was just embarrassed. It was one of those things again, that was just that shameful moment. I'm not that person, but I ended up being that person. I'm the kind of person that is a lover, and I just couldn't believe that so the thing is the next morning I didn't remember anything. My friend told me that you guys got a little too aggressive last night, and I didn't remember a thing. I literally denied it. I literally thought that he was lying, that didn't happen. The moment he told me, I was like, what are you talking about? So, yeah, I was blackout drunk, and McKenna, she actually said that when she looked in my eyes, she said that it wasn't me. She said it was something else. There was something else that was there that night in me. It wasn't me. And so, yeah, so, we stay together, and doing odd jobs, here and there, and she understand that night we were just drunk, and so she knows that I'm just not that kind of person. But anyway, so I'm just being fully transparent and fully honest. This is where drugs and alcohol takes you. And unless you want to be me, I'd suggest that you stay away from it. Because drugs and alcohol will make you do things that you would never do sober. The things that you say, I would never do that, I'm not that kind of person. You get a good enough amount of alcohol in you, I promise you, you'll be that kind of person. So, Stay away from it unless you want to be me and have so much regret and shame in your life. You get stuck in this circle where you do something stupid, you want to use more drugs because you did something stupid. Then you do another something stupid because you were on drugs and alcohol. And then you get to a point where you can't handle it anymore and you're filled with so much shame and regret that you're done. It's like a demon takes you over. Stay away from drugs and alcohol and open up your Bible. So, yeah, I worked a little odd job. Now, this one odd job that I was working, this couple was moving out of their house. And I met this girl, Caitlin, there because, she got on to help them move too. Now, Caitlin, seemed really cool at the time. She was about my age, chill. So we started hanging out. She'd come over and hang out with me and McKenna. We'd smoke and stuff like that. And, yeah, that, ended up turning into, a, polyamorous relationship. So, yeah, so demonic, straight up demonic. So, see, man, it's so much shame and guilt. You don't want that, dude. You don't want that. You don't want that kind of shame and guilt on you. Because even when you change and you look back, God forgives you of everything, and you really do become a new person. You really do get the anxiety, the depression. He really does heal that. What did Jesus do before people were saved? 99% of the time, what did he do? He healed them, and then they were saved. So, yes, he is a healer. So, we didn't know that this girl was hanging out with these people that grew up in satanic cults. And these are actually all over America. People don't know this, but they're right under our nose. There are satanic cults everywhere in America, and especially in this town. This is actually where The Deliverance was filmed, this town. So, McKenna, we actually get to a point to where we really are trying to stop. And, I'm like, you go to treatment, and I will cold turkey here, because I've done it so many times. But I don't have a car to get back and forth to meetings and stuff and work. So we told Caitlin, yeah, you can live here, if as long as you help me get to work and go to AA meetings and stuff like that. So McKenna goes to treatment. And while I'm there, when I get back from dropping McKenna off, the first thing that happens is Caitlin says she's going to go get drugs. So I go with her, and now I meet these people. We pull up in this random dirt road in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, and it's really freaky because the road is there's crevices, and it's almost not even drivable. And we're going through, the name of this road is called Dueling Banjos Lane. Dueling Banjos, anybody know, from The Deliverance. We pull up in this house. It's so creepy. It's, the front porch is like hoarder style, it's just full of stuff. You go inside, there's no lights on. It's dark. There's no lights on at all. You go inside, there's no walls. There's no stairs at the back porch, and it's just a drop off. It's really weird. And this girl Jessica lived there. She said it's the house that she grew up in. And I'm thinking this is where, it just didn't add up. It didn't make any sense to me. So there was also this guy named Blake. Blake was there. Blake was about 30 years old, blonde hair, short redneck dude. He was a big user of another thing. So, we're there and just doing our thing. And eventually we're going to leave. So as we're leaving, this girl, Jessica, she decides that she's going to come with us, and she just opens the door and crams herself in the passenger seat with me and says, I'm going with you. So I'm like, okay. We get back to the house. The next morning, me and Jessica are hanging out now. I'm getting to know her. We're driving around different places. She's taking me to different friends' houses. And this one guy lived in a little trailer. And we went over there to use. And while we're sitting in the trailer, we're sitting on the living room floor. Little tiny trailer. We're talking, and I look down and I see this black book, and it draws my attention. And when I picked it up, I realized that this black book, it was a demonology book. And he told me that it was just something interesting. He was just interested in it, which was a bunch of load of baloney. And so we meet some other people. I've been hanging out with them. So that's 3 people right there, including Caitlin. That's 4. Now we go back home, and now there's this guy, Zach. That's 5. And Kim. That's 6. And the numbers matter. So Zach is a young dude, about 22. He didn't even look like a drug addict, but he was. His girlfriend, Kim, she was like 40, actually. But she was beautiful. She's just picked up. I mean, if she was 20 years old, she would have been a model. But she was all picked up and just really sad. So one day I was talking to Zach, and we're just having a normal conversation. Like, I don't remember what we were talking about, but I definitely weren't talking about what he randomly brought up. And he randomly just brings up this thing about a phone. And he told me, he said, yeah, you need to watch out. You need to be careful, because there's this thing about phones that it's like a scam. They put a bunch of stuff on this phone, drug deals and things like that, and they plan it on you, and you get caught, and you actually go to jail. And so I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I literally was like, well, what are you talking about? He wouldn't explain himself any further. He just continued on with the regular conversation. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Didn't answer. So anyways, McKenna actually comes back, because McKenna realizes, wow, you're still using. I'm in treatment center. That's baloney. She gets out. She comes back. Well, now I'm like, we really need to stop. But she's driving around, taking the car, and now she brings home, she went off with that Blake guy, but comes back with another person, the 7th person, Josh. Josh did not feel right. There was something very dark about this guy. Kind of overweight, 6'1", maybe around that height. Seemed like a normal guy, but there was something off about him. All of them, and none of them ever had cell phones besides like Blake. Josh had a cell phone all the time. I think Blake every now and then did. None of the other ones had cell phones. Nor did I ever see where any of them actually lived. Jessica's house, why she lived there, I don't know. It looked like she was squatting, but she sweared it was her house. So, we're hanging out with Josh now, and eventually, we meet this one guy. He comes over, and we're all hanging out. My mom, she calls me, and I'm going to show you. The next morning, after using all night, she texts me, and she says, I was attacked last night, and I talked to my spiritual friend who speaks to the Holy Spirit. She said that you need to stop using immediately, that you are being attacked by 5 to 7 demons. And here is the evidence. So, we're confused, me and McKenna, and we're like, this is so weird. What is she talking about? McKenna doesn't believe in this. McKenna is straight atheist, nihilistic. She doesn't think life has any meaning whatsoever. She's, her father actually was sort of an evangelist, and he did himself in when she was 10 years old. So you could understand why she hated religion. She made fun of me. Now the funny thing is that I would play Christian. When I got arrested and I got out of jail, I was praying to God. I'm like, Lord, thank you for getting me out of jail. Like, the chief of police actually bailed me out because of how respectful I was to the cops. So, I was praying to God, like, thank you. And I was crying and repenting because I'm like so tired of this lifestyle. And, I start listening to like Bethel and Hillsong worship and stuff like that. And while these drug addicts, I didn't know they grew up in satanic cults. But while they're coming over, they're listening to me playing Bethel and Hillsong while we're all sitting there using drugs, and so funny. But so yeah, so we go to take that guy home, and not Josh, the guy that other guy we were hanging out with, and we're like, what is, we're trying to figure it out. We go to drop him off. We pull in his driveway, and man, I'll tell you what. When I turned around to say bye to this guy, he had the most eerie, evil, disgusting look and feeling about him. Like, if you could imagine a nasty demon in human form, that's what he looked like.